So welcome to Conversations with the Cobbs. We welcome you. Yes. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come out and have a conversation with us. Today our topic is loving and being loved.
Loving and being loved. What exactly do that mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean to you?
What does it mean? First of all, let me introduce myself.
Yes, please.
I am Dr. J. Jamal Cobb.
And I am Dr. J. Josetta Cobb. I am his true love, the love of his life, his queen, his good thing, his rib. I'm all of that to him.
She all of that. I'm just her boo.
He's my accessory. No.
No, but for real though, what does love and being loved mean to you?
Loving and being loved means to me being able to love without fear. You know, the word of God says perfect love casts out all fear, right? So it means being able to receive that love pure, just pure love without being afraid of being hurt. Because I know that, you know, God is love and he would not hurt me on purpose. It means being able to receive love, because a lot of times we can give love, but it's hard to receive that love back. So when I think of loving and being loved, I think of being able to just love without fear, without having to exert any type of authority in my love, any type of competition in my love, because my love is pure and it's without fear.
Well, for me, I think of love and being loved as, like you said, freedom. Freedom. A lot of people think love and being loved restrict you from being with someone else, but it don't restrict you. It enables you to be uninhibited with that person that you do love.
Absolutely.
So it frees you to be with that one. So I thank God, because God gave us a parameter of how we should have love, and he give us the freedom to express that within that covenant.
Absolutely. So that's what loving and being loved means to us. We're going to introduce our next couple and talk to them about what loving and being loved means to them. Could you help us welcome Yolanda and Ronald, please? Thank you. All right, another round of applause for Yolanda and Ronald. So just to introduce Yolanda, she and I go way back. We used to work together, and she's my my honorary sister. And this is her lovely fiance, Ronald. And we're going to talk to them today about finding love again, marrying a widower. Okay? So we're going to start off with you telling us, what does loving and being loved mean to you?
Ladies first.
Loving and to be loved, that's one thing that he actually taught me, because I didn't know how to love with my heart. I used to love with my body, and so he taught me how to love and be loved in return. So he
Okay. Thank you. What about for you?
Well, for me, it's different things. She taught me how to love in a different way. She's very free going, very free spirited, and I was used to more reserved. And see, with her, she's very outgoing, very outspoken, just out the box. Period. So you know, it's different with different forms of love, as you said before. So it's a great thing.
Okay.
So in essence, it gives both of you balance.
yes.
Yes.
Balance. That's good. That's a good thing.
How she described it one time, she was a storm on the calm.
All right. All right now.
And in between that is an eye.
Yeah.
I want to start by asking you a question. How long into your widow's journey did you feel like you was ready to start back dating again or seeing someone else?
I can't quite put a time limit on it. It's just that in the beginning, you know, you just kind of out there. You just don't know. You just in your own world, trying to deal with things with your family, your friends, trying to even go back to work, and you just go on. You kind of like a zombie. You just walking around like that. And the thing with when I met Yolanda, it was somebody to talk to. because I used to always tell people that I had nobody to talk to, because the kids, I have 3 older kids, but you know, everybody know you got teenagers. They really only talk to you when they want something. So you know, so you know, and they were in school too. So it was just, you know, I had the youngest one in the house. But after a little while, he even told me, "Dad, you got to go. You can't just sit in the house and look at the walls and look at the TV and everything." So it's just, you know, we just talking. The thing about it with her, she was my friend first. I did not know her
Okay.
beforehand at all. So we just was able to talk, and I just had somebody to talk to and somebody to text and everything. And I used to always, I remember when we used to end our conversation, I used to apologize for talking so much,
Oh.
you know, because I had, like I said, I had nobody to talk to. So that's how it evolved like that.
So I heard you say your son said, "Dad, look, you got to get out this house. You just sitting in the house. You're not doing anything." Did you talk to them about you being ready to date? Did you tell your family and friends that you were ready to date and you were going to start dating?
Not at that time, because I wasn't dating. I was just, we were just talking. I mean,
Okay.
it says it's one thing about us, even though we have our ups and downs, we had that foundation as friends first.
Okay.
So we still can work through it, you know. In any relationship, one person, yes, you get on each other's nerves every now and then, you know. But still, we have that foundation, and we always able to bounce back
Okay.
and everything. So once I did started, you know, tell the kids, they're like, "Dad, we happy for you."
Okay.
So you can get out, you can do, because when my youngest told me I needed to get out, because I do high school football, and I gave up the rest of my season once my wife had passed. So I was just, on Friday nights, I was just sitting at home, and he was like, "Dad, you got to go back out and do games. You got to get back involved, because you just was sitting at the house."
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So your relationship grew
Yes.
from friendship first, and it grew into a relationship.
Yes.
And I think that's important, because I think a lot of people, once they become friends, they leave that person in the friend zone and never allow it to flourish into something else. It can be hard not to dwell on your former spouse. How do the two of you strike the right balance between acknowledging that you will forever mourn your spouse, but realizing that you have each other and need to live in the present together?
Well, what I did was, I knew it was going to be a challenge. This has been the woman he's been with for 25 years, married for 23. I'm younger, I'm 11 years younger, so I knew it was going to be a lot of challenges. And then, so what I did was create a memorial section in their home. I had an artist paint a picture of her, and to keep her light shining, because if it was me, I want my light to continue to shine. I printed pictures of her up in their home, and she always wore flowers in her hair, so they have flowers and different things just to remember her. So that really helped overcome a lot, to even let the kids know, I'm not trying to take your mother's place. I'm here if you need me. I want to be a positive role model. I'm not trying to overstep my boundaries. So that helped as far as balancing, you know, everything out.
What about for you? How did you find balance?
Knowing that she did put the kids involved, you know, put the kids first, involve all my 3 and her 1. So we know we kind of, it was separated in the beginning, but you know, our children now. That's when we speak of it like that. Just like yesterday, she texted me, our daughter needs a present for her bestie's birthday party today. In the beginning, it wasn't not like it was text, Jayla need this. Now it's our daughter needs this. So I can tell we have grown in that sense right there.
Awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So that took a lot of humility for you and thoughtfulness. So I commend you on doing that with family in the home. Have you gotten any negativity or pushback from any family or friends about dating? Did they think you dated too soon, or you should not have started dating at all?
Well, I guess yes. I mean, nobody said anything, but you can tell by people's actions. You know, they can. As everyone knows, you know, it's not what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it, the tone that you use, the facial expressions that you use. 1 minute you could be talking to someone, speaking to them nicely. The next minute you just like a light switch, you didn't flip. So, you know, I get that from time to time, not now, but in the in the beginning, because it's like some people held on so tight and didn't want to see anything but Monica, and I understand that. I'm the first one to understand that. So, but time, each person heals differently, and time heals all wounds.
Well, you know, there's no end to grief. Grief is, you know, it's never ending, and I would think that her family, you know, grieving her, of course, and then they're grieving you as a couple, you as one as well, and to see with someone different runs interference, that grief. And a lot of times people just don't know how to process that, speaking to the negativity or the pushback. But how did you handle that? Because I imagine it had to be challenging for you.
It's very challenging. It's still challenging. That's one of the challenges that we still deal with, because he was trying to please everybody. You had me and my daughter. You had his 3 kids at the time. You know, his 3 kids, her family, and then his family. So he's trying to balance everybody, one person, make everybody happy, because everybody's grieves differently, as he stated. But at the same time, you can't disrespect me in your grieving process. You know, I'm not trying to force you to move forward. Take your time. You don't have to like it or love it, but you have to respect me. I mean, you haven't given me the opportunity to even do any wrong. You've already counted me out. So that's still just one of the challenges that we still face. Hurdles is that letting them still grieve when they're going to come around. But I mean, I just still be cordial and respectful. I mean, because that's all that they knew was her. So some people are not ready for change. But
so you face that with just being encouraging, respectful, cordial when you're in their presence.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, because you know
Now,
I got questions.
I understand how challenging that would be for us, your extended family. But how did you prepare the 2 of you to prepare the children for you to start dating again, and you know, for y'all relationship and taking it to the next level?
Well, at first it was just the 3 of us, me and my daughter. My daughter, I had she's 3. Well, she was 3 at the time, and it was just us. And I kept saying, you need to bring your kids in. You know, his kids at the time, or his kids now are 20, 21, 20, and 17. So they're gonna take their time, they're gonna come. And then it ended up backfiring on us because of the fact that when it was presented to them, it was like it was new, but to the 3 of us, it was actually old, because we had already had a relationship, the 3 of us, but in reality it was 6 of us. And so when it finally was presented, it was pushed back then, because they were just like, where'd this happen, you know? And then comes the blended family presenting to him. So he was ready, but they weren't ready for to move on at that point.
So do you feel like you gave yourself enough time to heal prior to dating, or when you started dating? Did you give your kids enough time to receive another woman in your life and their life as well?
I think I did. I mean, I'm not sure. That's like when I discussed this, there's no book on this. There's nothing I can read. I can't Google this. I can't ask Siri this, you know, nothing like that. And there's nobody that I've been able to find in my situation, being married that long with 3 older kids, and it's just the circumstances, it just was all new. Really all people can give me is their opinion of what they would do, but you say this is what you would do, but you're not in my situation. So you can just speculate what you might do. And that was my problem, my fault, was trying to make everyone happy. And in the end, nobody was happy, and I was catching it.
You got it.
You know, so and that was my thing. And like now, you know, I've learned that lesson. I'm not trying to please everybody. This is what I'm getting ready to do, and this is it. I mean, you can get on board, or you can I'll catch you next time around when I come through.
Okay. Well, you know, a blended family has its own set of challenges, and then you add to the mix of that grieving. It takes it to a whole nother level. And now you come in the picture and you are marrying someone whose wife passed. And the children don't have a mom who they can still go to. There's no one that's there other than you. Do you find yourself being compared to a ghost or an angel, just someone who's just not present, but the presence is known?
At first, I felt like, oh gosh, I'm not going to try to walk in her shoes. She left her footprints behind on their hearts. I got my own set to leave. But I do what I can do.
Okay.
I mean, it comes challenges because I had to teach him and make him be the husband that I need him to be for me, because that's the husband he was used to her. Like, she wasn't big on communication.
Okay.
I'm a big communicator.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's challenges even with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to change the flow just a little
Okay.
bit and add something more forward to your future. You said that you are the calm and Yolanda is the
Storm.
Okay. Would you say that after meeting Yolanda, that opposites do attract?
Yes. Yes.
Hands down, yes.
How do that look though? How is that for you? Do it give you encouragement when you realize that, hey, you got somebody who their strengths are your weaknesses?
Yes, that's it. For me to get riled up, that means you done push me long time, and then it's like I done snap. I'm coming after you, ears pinned back. It's on, and that's the end of it. You're gonna pay the
This is my
piper
brother
for
from another mom.
You're gonna pay the piper in there because you didn't cross the line. I didn't let you have it. You didn't inch me and push me and push me and push me. You know, with her, it's kind of just
I'm
nudge.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to nudge. Yeah, sometimes you have to
I
give
know
me
my
nudge.
sister, she stay ready.
I'm ready. But it balances out.
Yeah.
So it definitely do. We are definitely, he's private, I'm an open book. So it balances out. So it's needed.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself calming Yolanda down a lot?
Yeah.
Are you asking this for yourself or?
For the people.
Oh, okay.
But when he need me to go to the school or to the store because somebody made him out,
Things.
then he ready to go
Oh,
ahead like a
okay.
little Rottweiler. Go on out there and get him. Now he want to send me out there.
It's, okay, so we know that everybody says men are physical, and so I want to know what attracted you to your wife, and let's go a little beyond the physical. What attracted you to Yolanda?
You know you gotta go home with me.
No, when I first saw her, I told her I liked her eyebrows.
Oh, okay.
He inboxed me and told me,
Here's the open book.
tell the truth.
Oh.
There's a South Carolina State alumni forum, and we're both graduates of South Carolina State. And he inboxed me, said he liked my eyebrows. I'm like, I draw my eyebrows. What are you talking about? It just went from there. But some replies work out.
Yeah.
We getting married.
That's all that matters. But you do slay your eyebrows though.
I just think. But as far as me, if you would have put him compared to any other person that I dated in my past, I'll climb trees. He's shorter than me. Now he climbing the tree.
Oh.
And so it's just like, but you never know who God has for you.
Right.
And you have to be open to it, because you have to be willing to step outside the box, because otherwise you might miss your blessing, because he's truly an answer to my prayer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome when you can open yourself up to being with the person that God will have for you and not who you would select. Because, hey, let's be real.
Yeah.
We made a lot of selections that has been wrong.
Yes.
You know, but when you open yourself up to God, God
Yeah.
picks up perfect.
Yeah. Loving the wrong one the right way for
Yeah.
too long. So we'll close with this. If you would, please give some inspiration advice to one who may date a widower or a widow for that matter. What would you offer to them as a light?
As far as me, dealing with it, I would say that one thing I learned from him is that he learned to appreciate life more. He realized to embrace the people who do love him and those who make his heart smile. So.
Yeah, for me, for someone in my situation, just make sure you're ready to date. And like I said, the one mistake I did was holding out, trying to make everybody happy, trying to piece it together like that. Just when you're ready, present it to everyone and go forward like that. That's the main thing. Just present it to everyone, let them know what's going on, and the communication on that, and it'll be smoother than what I had to go through. You know, I'm smoothing it out now, but it still cost us time. You know, arguments, falling out. You know how we do. Well,
intense fellowship.
Yes. Phone hanging up. You know.
I miss the days when you could just slam the phone down and they could hear that. But now you just gotta hit the end button real hard. You really just can't hang up on people like you used to.
Really?
Yeah, they are sisters.
I just say you about to listen to my friend Tony.
All right. So closing remarks.
I would also say that wait on God. And when you pray, tell him exactly what you need that man or that woman to be, because he will give you exactly that. And he may answer real fast and scare you, but hey, he'll answer. But I would say wait on him, his perfect time, and he makes all things beautiful.
Amen.
Can we?
Ronald and Yolanda, y'all. We're going to take a break and come back with our next couple.
Right back, yeah. Welcome back. We are getting ready to introduce our next couple. You want to introduce them, honey?
Our next couple with the segment Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
Nothing but a number.
Shalonda and Clyde Shepard. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
So, if you would like to introduce yourselves.
I'm Shalonda Shepard.
Clyde Shepard.
Yes, and Shalonda and I go way back as well. And so we wanted to just invite them on today to talk about loving and being loved. And we want to start off with that. If you could tell me, Shalonda, what does loving and being loved mean to you?
To me, it means just being able to be myself. Having someone that loves me despite of my flaws. I think that's it.
That's good.
Just kind of, he loves me despite of everything. He loves Shalonda for who Shalonda is. I don't have to be anyone else. I am me. 100%.
That's good. What about you, Clyde?
Yeah, for me, it's being able to love with no restriction. Because when I say I love you, I mean that from my heart, and it's straightforward and it's genuine. So there's no limit. There's no limit to it.
Good.
So
no limit, love.
I won't jump off a building right now. Stand in front of the train.
No limit, love. Okay, so age ain't nothing but a number. Let's just talk about that for a few minutes. If you don't mind, telling us what's your age difference first of all, or you can tell us your ages, whichever one you feel more comfortable with.
Tell me your age.
What am I? Wait a minute. I'm 36. I think.
I'm 72.
36 and 72. So you do the math. Age ain't nothing but a number. You have to be open to what God is doing in your life, right? All right, so let's talk about this. What are the challenges and how do you work through them with your age difference?
Well, I guess for me, the challenge was being the age that I am and the age that she is. How will her friends accept her how will they look upon her? Because I guess in our culture, you know, there always there's a difference when you marry. Well, let's say I'm an older guy and you're marrying a younger woman. You know, in our culture, you know, always say, well, you know, in a sense, it's frowned upon. In some other culture, you know, there's no problem, none whatsoever. Because she was purchasing a car, and the salesman was saying, your father. I said, yeah, I'm her father, all right.
Call me daddy.
But there's always...
Call me daddy.
There's always that, you know, little thing that's going to come up every now and then, and it kind of make you feel a little bad. But you know, I get past it. I don't let that bother me because you know I try to keep myself physically, you know, looking good and you know, doing all of what I need to do. You know, and plus, you know, I love her for who she is, not because of the fact that I might be older and she might be younger.
Yeah. Well, you know, Shalonda and I go way back. Well, we go back too.
Yeah, we
so
do.
I remember you from you've always, like you said, took very good care of yourself. So what about for you, Shalonda? What are some challenges?
Some of the challenges I think more recent is children, parenting, and just not. I guess my husband not wanting any more kids. I can't physically have any more kids, but the whole adoption, he was like no. Where initially he was like yeah. So that's a challenge. But that's kind of been my main thing, you know. And then parenting is always because you know he's much older, so he comes from a different generation than I do when it comes to parenting. We have I have a 14-year-old. So, you know, I'm a counselor, so it's like, oh, I want to talk about it. And he's like, no, we're not talking. You know, we need to have some business. Right. So, you know, and just, you know, those type things. Those are some of the challenges. And then, just, I guess, in our marriage, because when we were dating, I lived in one state and he was in another state. So just not, you know, so there were some challenges there too, because I don't think we really knew
how the other person lived. So now you're under one roof.
Yeah, everybody have that challenge.
Yes. That was a challenge, and it still is. You know, we in this almost 3 years now, and you know, it still is a challenge for him.
For him,
because I'm
not for you.
Not for me, because
I'm the kind of guy. Put it where it's supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I can understand how that's a challenge for you with Shalonda.
Well, you know.
If you move it, put it back.
So, y'all get together, y'all dating, and y'all decide to get married. What are the fears that came prior to marriage? Do you have some fears there?
Well, so this is both our second time around. So when we first started talking about it, I was just like, well, you know, my dad is like, no, it's gonna be a wrap. You know, I'm not marrying you. Just because of my previous experience, I was like, no. And that was my fear. Like, how are my parents, especially, because he's older than my parents. How are they going to handle this? You know, it's okay when we're, you know, hey, this is Clyde, you know, okay, he comes around, but when you talk about marrying, you know, my dad's daughter, my mom's daughter, that's something totally different. But that was one of my biggest things. And my extended family, because my extended family, we're close. You know, so those were some of my fears. And just how, and also that as life goes on, what's going to happen? You know, the fear of the unknown. Essentially, and that's still a fear, to be honest, for me. You know, the fear of the unknown.
What about for you?
I guess the biggest challenge, was, you know, as I said, Shalonda said, you know, second time around, and my daughter, you know, Shalonda is younger than my daughter, and that still, you know, is a little challenge right now, you know, and trying to get past, you know, that hurdle, because, you know, you want to always maintain, you know, that closeness. You know, we have the closeness, but it's not basically where father and daughter should be, you know, so, you know, we're still kind of work on that.
You're working through that with just patience and
Yeah, and prayer. you know,
prayer.
so, yeah.
Lots of prayer.
Yeah, lots.
Okay, so you guys kind of segue into my next question. I wanted to ask, did you have any concerns about what your friends and family would think? And you kind of talked about your family somewhat, but what about your friends?
Well, you guys are my friends.
Yes.
um,
I also made your honor.
yeah, she was. So for the most part, friends were supportive. They were honest with me. You know, most of the people I hang with that I say are really friends, they were 100% honest. They told me what their thoughts were. You know, we laughed about it, we joked about it, we cried about it, you know, but they were honest. And I think at the end of the day, it was just like, well, you know, Shalonda, if you're happy, we're going to be there. We're going to support you. At the end of, that's pretty much what it was. But there were some concerns. And I would probably be the same way on the outside.
I guess on my side, you know, there never was any pushback, you know, from my friends because basically, you know, most of them were, you know, my age. And, you know, they're saying a younger woman, go ahead.
Well, I want to segue into when you meet somebody new. What type of reactions do you get upon meeting new people?
Well, I guess it is whether you're going to jail, you know, whether you're going to have somewhat of the same interests. Just like Shalonda want to go zip lining and what's that, waterboarding and paddling and all that stuff.
She's
And,
adventurous.
you know, and for me, it's a little different. But you know, those things, you know, I think we kind of work around. I kind of smile at it because I know that Shalonda do have fear of things. She will say she want to do it, but when it comes down to do it, no. It's a different story. But I think, you know, being compatible and knowing each other and loving each other and understanding each other. So, you know, plus she's kind of witty too sometimes. So, you know, I appreciate that.
Yeah. What about you with meeting new people?
Meeting new people together, or I think I missed something.
Together.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I kind of just put it out there ahead of time. So like, if I have let's say some new friends that come around, new coworker, whatever. I'm married, and FYI, my husband is much older than me, you know. So it's not like, whoa, you know, a deer in the headlights when they finally meet us together.
Okay.
I kind of give them that, you know, I tell them ahead of time, you know. Yeah, and then if we're like, you know, if we're together and, you know, we just meet a couple, yeah, we're, you know, we talk, we're married, and that's kind of where it is.
But I guess due to the generation, you know, it's, you know, as I said earlier, you know, it's more acceptable, you know, with my friends, you know, because of my age, you know, and as I say, you know, I always feel a little, a little uncomfortable because she is younger when I'm around her friends. And, you know, you always have in your head, you know, what her friends are thinking. You know, she coming in with that old guy and all that, and all that stuff. You know, so, but you know, it doesn't matter to me. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I saw you guys attended an 80s party.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing. I include him in everything. You know what I'm saying? Like the same person at the party last year, we had to wear like Mickey Mouse shirts. He was like, "I'm not wearing this." We did. You know, and and this past yesterday, like you were mentioning, 80s party. You know, I went on Amazon. I found us costumes. And we went, you know, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, you guys killed it," because it was about having fun, you know. Just because he's older than me, he's still alive. He's not dead, and I'm definitely not dead.
Oh, that's right.
You know, you want to live your life to the fullest. And that's the thing. It's, you know, I want him to. I think we both want each other to be happy and, you know, live our lives to the fullest.
Yeah. So before we close, I know you have a 14-year-old son.
I do.
Where does Dill fit in with all this? How is he kind of gelling with y'all?
Well, at first, Dylan was like, "What? Wait a minute." When this was like years ago, he was like, "Okay, I know Mr. Shep. Mr. Shep is nice. He cool. Y'all wait a minute. You get married?" But he like 1 million years older than you, Mom. What is going on? You know, he was younger then. But, you know, he loves him. He respects him. He knows that he's not trying, because Dylan has a dad that's very active in his life. So he knows that Clyde is not trying to take his place, but they all work together. Matter of fact, I told my husband and my ex-husband, I was like, I got some kind of bromance going on when it comes to Dylan, because they, you know, and that works for us, you know. But he, you know, he was supportive, but he was more concerned about his mom more so than you know, like, Mom, what is going on? But he's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
as we come to a close, what would y'all tell another May December couple that is thinking about getting married?
Yeah, and could you just help us to understand, what does that mean, a May December couple?
Okay, so May December is like, May is for like the spring, and December is like winter. There are all kind of Facebook groups about this, by the way, on May December relationships, but just being open. You know, you have to be open, and even if somebody was to come up to you, if you a woman or a guy, somebody's older, you know, just be open to that, because you never know. You know, you don't want to count anyone out because of if you're attracted, especially if you're attracted to them. Now, if you're not attracted to them, and that's one thing. But if you're attracted to the person, you just never know what the opportunity may bring. So it's about just being open. Yeah.
And I think an understanding of the challenges that's involved, you know, with the age difference. And I think, you know, if those two people can get, you know, past that, I don't think they have a problem, because, you know, it's not a major problem for us anymore. You know, so I just think understanding the challenges, because you're going to get looks, you know, and they're going to look and say, you know, gee whiz, are you real? You know, so, but you know, you can't let that, you know, get to you. But the fact that you love each other, I think that's the important thing. And you know, I love her, you know, very much. So, and that's not going to change, no matter what age you are. Right?
That is the power of love.
Yes.
The power of love.
The power of love. Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Clyde and Shalonda. Thank y'all for coming. Take a break. Welcome back, everyone. We're having a great program today. We're going to invite our third guest on, Anthony and Juwan.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Their segment today is Second Time Around. Second time around. I know, you know, for me, my motto has always been, I don't do repeats.
They're my ex for a reason.
So, second time around, we want to talk about that today.
Yeah, and so we want to talk about that. We want to talk about loving and being loved. And what does that mean to you, loving and being loved?
Loving and being loved to me means loving me how I want to be loved, and then also allowing me to share love in a unique way to you, but also how you love to be loved.
What about you?
For me, because love is a choice, I feel that anytime that one is in a relationship, primarily a love relationship, that love needs to be something that's so sincere, so pure. I think the society that we live in now has kind of developed the definition of what love is. But for me, love it has to be genuine, and it has to be heartfelt and sincere.
Yeah.
Being loved is the same thing, because you can't necessarily communicate love to me the way you receive love, because I may never receive it that same way. So however I need to be loved, it's important that you express love in that manner.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, because we all have, I know we've all heard about the love languages, and so we all speak a different love language. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Love me how I want to be loved, and receive love in the way you receive love. So that's good, but we want to talk about the second time around. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of times we feel like, you know what, you're my ex for a reason. I'm not coming back to that. I'm not going back to that. But if you could just share a little bit of your story as to why this is your second time around, because some, you know, we want to introduce what you have gone through and what brought you to this place.
So my wife and I are both military veterans, and we dated on active duty in Korea, 2001. It was a short-lived romance. We dated for about 6 months because I was reassigned to the States. And naturally, in transition, we lost contact. However, I kept 2 Polaroids.
Okay.
That's how far we go back. Polaroids. And with those Polaroids, you know, periodically, I would just glance at them. I had a scrapbook of memories from that duty assignment, and, you know, first page was Jawan. And from time to time, I would just glance at her like, God, if I ever got a chance to cross her path again, I would marry her.
Wow. Wow. What about for you?
So, like he said, we lost contact when he came back to the States. I was still in Korea. And when we got back to the States, 10 years passed. We hadn't had contact for 10 years, and he's from Chattanooga, so when I came back, just immediately assumed that that's where he was. And it wasn't until January, New Year's Day, January 2010, I was just like, Anthony Jackson. Because I remember him a couple of years after we left Korea, but the memories kind of faded. But all of a sudden, just like Anthony Jackson. So I went to Facebook.
Okay.
Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
Put in Anthony Jackson, and popped up Anthony Jackson, Columbia, South Carolina. But he had on a hat, and the hat was covering his face. Couldn't even see his eyes. So I just sent a message. I said, "Is this Anthony Jackson, chaplain assistant from Korea?" And he didn't reply back immediately.
Right. It made us sweat.
But when he did, he said yes, and I was just, wow. He's in Columbia, and I was in Charleston the entire time.
Okay.
Wow, you see how close you can be in proximity of who God has for you, and you don't even know it.
So Facebook reconnected the two
Facebook
of you.
did, yes.
I'm gonna change just a little bit. With Facebook reconnecting, what would you say to someone who may connect on a dating site?
Well, let me preface it by saying this. Technology is a wonderful thing, and you know, we can use technology for a multiplicity of things. They use technology in medicine and communication. So if you have been gifted to go to a dating site, we'll say, don't discredit the extent that relationship can go because of the nature of your connection. Because though I might have met you in the cloud, if I meet you in everyday life and I meet you in reality, it can grow, it can blossom if 2 people are committed to making it grow.
Okay. And so your breakup, it doesn't sound like you broke up. You were like, you know what, this ain't working. It's over. I'm done. It didn't happen like that. It happened to be just a separation due to military service. You guys kind of went your separate ways and lost contact. So does that mean that your heart was still with the other person? Because how long were you together prior to being separated?
It was short-lived. We were together less than a year, roughly around 6 months.
Okay. So would you say that you were already in love? Did you fall in love at that point already, or no?
I had.
Okay.
I'm a hopeless romantic.
Okay.
Real mushy type, very affectionate. And, you know, I was young. I was 21 years old. I had been in several relationships, but nothing that serious. And I just believe that when you meet the person that you're destined to be with, you know. You know, regardless of the nature of your encounter, you know. And the day I laid eyes on Jawan, I knew that this was supposed to be my wife. We were separated geographically, but she had my heart, whether she realized it or not.
Wow.
Okay.
For me, I was, honestly, I was physically attracted to him. When we first met, he was in the Army and he was about 120 pounds lighter. And he was very muscular, and I was physically attracted to him. But as we had a lot of conversations, and he is one person that you can talk to him about anything. He has a conversation for anything. He's an advanced talker.
Okay. The
gift of gab.
Yes.
But that attracted me to him, and I did love him. I really didn't think that it would come to marriage, but I really was very attracted to him, and I did love him.
You did love him. Okay.
Now going back to I think you said January 1st, 2010. You get on Facebook, you send the message, he send one back and say, "Yeah, that's me." You know. How did things progress from there?
Yeah.
He was playing minister music for a church here in Columbia, and we spoke on the phone a couple of days. I forget that New Year's Day, I think, was a midweek. So towards the end of the week, he said, "Come to church." So I prepared and I came up to church that Sunday, and we went to church and had dinner afterwards, and that was it. That was it. I was a little skeptical because at the time I had a daughter. I was a single parent, and in my mind I felt like no one would want me because I was a single parent. So for us to reconnect, and him knowing that up front that I had a daughter and still accept me and wanting to move forward, I was very excited.
I want to pause right there because a lot of women think that. A lot of women think because they got children, nobody will want them. But you have to remember, Mary was with child. It was not Joseph.
Right.
And Joseph still wanted her. So, you know, if Mary is good enough for Joseph, then Jawan can be good enough for Anthony.
That's right.
You know,
Yes.
Jamal can be good enough for Josetta and many others. So don't just count yourself out just because you have a child.
And if I could just briefly speak to the men out there, it's impossible for you to love a woman who has kids and not embrace those kids. Not love those kids. It's literally impossible. I think the old school used to say you can't love the heifer and not love the calf.
Okay.
So you have to, it's all encompassing. That is a part of her. And if you love her, then you need to love all of her.
Absolutely. So when you reunited, you came back together, did you know that, you know what, I'm not letting them get away from me again? Was it purposeful dating? Were you dating with the intention of marrying, or were you just kind of seeing, because people change, and it sounds like a good bit of time had passed before you reunited, and so having grown from when you first know one another to the point of reconnecting, did you already know, like, this is the person I'm going to marry, or did you say, let me feel him out, let me get to know him again, all over again? How did that work for the both of you?
Well, for me, although I was a little like, I don't know if anyone wants me because I have a child, I still believe that God wanted me to be married. He had someone for me. So what I did, I wrote a list of every attribute that I desired in my husband. And I sealed that envelope and I gave it to my brother-in-law. And I told him, when I bring him to you, I want you to open this up and check it off.
Okay.
And every single thing was checked off on that list.
Wow.
Everything was checked.
So you measured up.
He measured up.
You measured up.
For me, during that course of separation, I actually discovered who I was and who I was destined to be. So for me, having a wife and not just a girlfriend was essential. And I shared that with her on our first date. Look, I'm not looking for a girlfriend.
Okay.
In fact, we were sitting at Chili's, and I told her that night, I was like, look, if this can't go anywhere, let's not waste time because I need to find who I'm destined to be with. I knew I was called to ministry. I knew I was called a pastor. I think I told her that. I wasn't a pastor yet, but I told her, hey, I'm a pastor and I need a wife. I don't need a girlfriend. You know, so and sharing that with her, it let her know up front that, you know, I had very much intentions on taking this the long haul. You know, this is not just someone that I wanted to be with temporarily, but this is going to be who I'm with for the rest of my life.
That's good. So you were at Chili's and you were like, pretty much like, you know what? I want you to be my baby back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was at Chili's with no chill. I was like, yo, it's about to be serious.
But I think it's important to put that out there up front, and I think it's important too, not to waste people's time, not to play with people's hearts, because that's when you start playing with people's hearts. That's when you know, things can happen. Things can move negative very quickly because you're playing with people's emotions.
Well, you know, so you were purposeful, you were intentional in that conversation. You knew what you wanted. You knew that she was the one. And so you verbalized those things to her, not worrying about, is this too soon?
Right.
Is this too quick? Am I going to scare her off? How is this going to, you know, make her feel? What was your response to that? Were you like, oh, whoa, you going a little too fast? You know, what are you talking about?
No, actually, I was happy in the inside. I was jumping around the inside. I'm like, wow, he knows I have a daughter. And like you said, 10 years had passed, so there's a lot of things about us both that change, and everything that we express to each other, and he still wants to possibly pursue a deeper relationship with me. I was very excited. It didn't scare me at all.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, because those conversations, you know, can scare a person off. You might think, you know, you're moving too fast. We just reconnected. I don't know you like that, bro. You talking about marrying you? You want me to be your wife? So it's good that you were, again, open to that. And I think that's been the ongoing theme here today, being open to the move of God in your life as it relates to who he has for you and not who you would choose for yourself.
Absolutely.
Being open to that move of God in your life and for your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the second time around for you, how is it working out for you? Because since that time, you said to her that day, you pretty much, you know, prophesied about your own life. I'm going to be a pastor. You are now a pastor. Together, you're pastoring a new ministry, Power Ministries here in Columbia. So, you know, adding that on to your reconnecting, you, like you said, you had a 14-year-old daughter now, and now you have
3 more.
3 other children ages.
Tim Jackson.
What are their ages?
5, 3, and 8, and it'll be 2 next month.
Okay, so the second time around has added on a lot. So how are you? How is that working out for you? How are you adjusting to all of this?
The Bible says that the blessing of the Lord maketh one rich and has no sorrow. I'll say this: having married one, I have absolutely no regrets. She has truly been the love of my life and the favor that God promised.
I hear one of the guest panelists said before that it's a balance. And there were some things, I'm easygoing, hold back a lot inside, but at 36, 10 days postpartum, I had a heart attack. And Anthony's very vocal. He does, if he thinking it, it's gonna be said. And I wasn't that person. And the cause of my heart attack was simply stress. I was holding a lot of things inside. But he's taught me, Jay, you gotta just let that go. You gotta, don't reserve anyone's feelings. You gotta be tactful and say it. So he's taught me a lot of things, how to help better myself in this marriage. And he didn't have any children, and he always desired children, and he told me the other day, I had one more in me, but you cut me off.
What?
Okay, well, praise the Lord.
I mean, the Bible says be fruitful and multiply,
I
but
was
come
just
on
being
now.
obedient,
Blessed is the man who quiver is filled. His quiver is filled.
Okay, so you are adjusting to that by learning to vocalize how you feeling and what's going on with you, and you're just standing on the word of God, pretty much, and applying it to where you are today.
Yes.
Absolutely. So second time around, we present again Javon and Anthony. Thank you so much, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. I think everybody is enjoying themselves. We're here with all our panel guests, and we're going to start our question and answering session.
Cool. So one of the overcomers, this is for age ain't nothing but a number. One of our overcomers' question is, does your age difference show up often?
Not necessarily often. But it does in some aspects of our life, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question?
I guess it did. Did that answer your question? I don't know who answered.
I asked the
I
question.
guess in what aspect?
Nope, didn't. She had already elaborated.
Oh, okay.
This question is for Miss Yolanda, coming from our overcomer. It says, how were you able to get your fiance to open up to you with him being so quiet?
That's a good question.
Because I am a talker, and I'm a communicator, and I expressed to him that communication is important to me, and he didn't come from that, so I had to mold him into what I needed him to be for me. So I made him open up to me.
I think with helping a person to open up to you, you first have to build that trust with them, and you have to help them to understand that they're safe with you. Their truth is safe with you. That you're going to respect their confidentiality. What they say to you is going to stay between you, them, and God. And first, earning that type of trust from that other person, being consistent in sending that message to them, would help them to say, you know what, I can trust them with my heart. I can trust them with my thoughts. I can trust them with who I am. And then they will eventually begin to open up to you. And it would take patience on both parties' part.
And I think being in love makes you vulnerable. And
Absolutely.
if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you're not really to truly love that person. And there's a reason why Samson laid his head in Delilah's lap. You can't find in the Bible where they had sex, but he laid his head in her lap and told all his secrets. I'll let y'all study that out in the future. But there's a reason.
Hashtag, you talk about that in the book, I'm just saying. Our next question is for Pastor Jawan. One of the overcomers wants to know, you mentioned writing a list of attributes and Anthony leading that. That's something that I've done, and my guy has met all of them, but he's uncertain, and I know he's the one. What advice do you have for a young woman that has a desire to be married, but he isn't ready?
So, praying and also understanding why he isn't ready. Even after Anthony and I became married, there were some things that I wasn't too fond of him, and it kind of reflected in our marriage. So I had to examine myself, had to make sure I was being who he needed me to be for him. And then once I was, and then he fell in line. So I think sometimes we look at the other person, we need to just reflect on ourselves and say, am I being who they need me to be? Is it me?
If I could just respond to that as well. I think understanding that God has a perfect timing for even your love life. And a lot of times we feel like, okay, I want to be loved, but not necessarily at a place where you can display love how someone else is going to need it. And that's a time where God really has to work and develop you, where God has to mature you in an area of your life. So if you can do a good thing at a wrong time, and it be a complete disaster. Love is a beautiful thing, but if you fall in love or you get connected to someone at the wrong time in your life, you can damage them as well as them damage you.
Our next question is for AJ, nothing but a number. One of our overcomers wants to know for you, sir, what did Shalonda bring out of you that you didn't know you had in you?
Okay, what did she bring out of me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I guess opening up in some sense on some things, because I guess I'm a kind of a hardcore person, and sometimes it's not always nice to be hardcore, and sometimes you have to look at yourself and ask yourself why. And I guess in a sense, due to my upbringing, some of that, perhaps is still, in me, and learning how to adjust that. She may not realize that some changes have occurred as a result of that, but in a sense it has. I think I'm a little more open, to quite a few things as a result of, being, loving her.
So this next question from our overcomer is for each couple, and I guess we'll start with you, Pastors Jawan and Anthony. How long did you date before you married?
10 months.
Well, we get married July 22nd of this year. We're not married yet. So, but we dated a year, a little over a year. A little over a year.
I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to be a question and answer, but excuse me. Me and my wife got married July 22nd. That's the card, the lady card.
We dated, I would say 6 months.
Yeah, about 6 months.
6 months. But might we also add that we grew up together. Elementary, middle school, high school, separated just 20-some years. Reconnected on Facebook. Dated for 6 months, got married. So, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It has, and I want to talk about, I don't know if anybody asked some real questions, but I want to talk about, real issues, real things, real challenges that you face in dating and then getting married, because it's not always peaches and cream.
Right.
Don't I know?
For about 2 years.
Yeah.
Our next question is for the Shepherds. Our overcomer wants to know, you, sir,
Okay.
how do you as an older man deal with staying in a husband role and not a mentor role? And what's the balance that you use?
How do I stay in the husband role? Well,
You can answer that? She's saying she can answer that.
well, I think we keep each other in balance and in check, and I know my role, and I think she know her role as a wife. So we don't try to dominate each other and what have you. So we try to maintain a balance in decisions and things like that. So
Good.
And that song, y'all remember that song, You're Not My Daddy? Y'all remember that song back a couple years ago?
You're not my daddy?
Yeah, You're Not My Daddy, You're My Man. Y'all remember that song?
Okay, I don't. That's okay.
All right, so
I will YouTube it.
so like I played the song out, I had to tell him, no, but that was before marriage. But yeah, and he doesn't try to be a mentor. He knows, that this is a marriage. He doesn't necessarily try to be a mentor. Does he come with some wisdom that I may not necessarily have? Definitely, because he's been, but also on the flip side of that, things have changed over the years when it comes to certain stuff. So we kind of, like you said, balance each other off. Where if it may be one thing, he's like, no, blah blah blah. I'm like, hold on, we gotta look at this from a different perspective. I understand this is how it may work or it may have worked, but have to look at things a little bit different. So I think that's it as well.
But I always like to use this as a joke, especially when I'm driving. She's trying to tell me how to drive.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry, y'all.
I said, Shalonda, I was driving before you were born.
Can't use that.
Our next question from an overcomer, if anybody on the panel can definitely answer it. How do you separate family from your relationship to maintain a healthy relationship?
Let me answer that.
Yes, ma'am.
Leave them out. Your marriage, your relationship is between you and your mate, your husband. You have to leave, even your friends, leave them out. You have to talk to somebody, talk to God. Because those things that you go to them, you're like, well, Ma, he did this. My mother's still holding on to that, even though I forgave him. So you have to just leave them out. And you can't run from whatever you're dealing with. You have to face it together in order to overcome it, because we're overcomers.
That's right. I agree. I think we should definitely protect our marriage. We need to have walls of protection around our marriage. I think that there needs to be boundaries set when it comes to family, and helping them to know what those boundaries are. Because a lot of times people just don't know. Or they might not know that you're not okay with this, or you're not okay with that, or I am okay with this, but just not that. So I think there needs to be a conversation had with those immediate people in your family to say, these are my boundaries, and moving forward, I expect you to respect them. We will not go beyond this place when it comes to my marriage. And even if they do try, because people will try you. So even if they do try, you stand firm on those boundaries until they begin to respect those boundaries. And you cannot give in. You have to be firm on whatever those boundaries are when it comes to your marriage. Because we talk about being married to one another. It's me, you, and God, right? I told them to call me ride or die though, because I ain't dying. But I will try with you. But however, comma, semicolon, when it comes to family, we are married to one another's family. And so it can be very hard and sometimes even impossible to not include your family, or to say my family is not a part of this, especially when you come and you marry someone who's very close with their family. It's kind of hard to just kind of say, you know what, y'all out of the picture. You don't even matter anymore.
And believe it or not, your family got a lot of influence in how you handle things. You handle things, most people handle things based upon what they were taught growing up. And they bring that into the marriage. So you got the family in your marriage, whether they are verbalizing what they mean or not. What they taught you coming into me. When we got married, I was 40 years old. So I've learned what they taught me for 40 years. I'm bringing that into our marriage. So they have influence.
Yeah, they do. And every family has a different culture, and you might think, I remember telling my daughter that when she first went to college. She's like, Mom, my roommate, she stays up, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, honey, you guys come from a different culture. And she said, what do you mean? Both of us black. It doesn't matter. Every household has its own culture, and so you are bringing those family cultures into your marriage, and so is that person. But again, I can't stress the word boundaries enough, and finding that happy medium in your marriage. And it's going to take work. You cannot expect it to happen overnight. I think those are unrealistic expectations. And we expect the person to just be who you need them to be and who you want them to be, and understand where you come from and what you've gone through and this, that, and the third. You're not being fair to them, and you're setting your marriage up for failure.
I had that challenge as well. Like I said, I had a young daughter, and I was in nursing school, so I depended a lot on my family to pretty much raise her while I was in school full time. So when when we got married, they were still thinking they had that place, and I had to literally sit down with them and have that talk and set the boundaries. Like, if I discipline her, if Anthony disciplines her as the father in her life, you can't go behind her and tell her something different. So boundaries are very important. And it was okay. After we had that conversation, everything's fine. But they just need to know.
Yeah, they need to know. And I think people fear losing their place in your life. And so you have to reassure them, like, ain't nobody replacing you. You're still my auntie. You're still my whoever. You have to help them to understand that this relationship is not going to be omitted. It's just that you're not allowed to come. You see this line right here? You can't come past that. But we still good. You have to reassure them of their place in your life. That has not changed. And that would make them a little more understanding of the boundary that you're setting for your marriage.
However, that hadn't changed, but your order has changed.
Right, and people have
a hard time adjusting to the order. Because when I get married, my wife becomes first before my children, before my mother, before anybody else. It's my wife. So once my wife becomes first, then everybody else fall. Then it's my children. Then after my children, then it's my parents and her parents. And then it's the rest of the family and everybody else. But there is a pecking order that changes once you get married. A lot of people like to continue to say, no, my child come first. And that would be detrimental to your marriage. My mother gonna always be my mother, and that would be detrimental to your marriage. You have to put things in the proper order, in God's order. Once you put things in God's order, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, and if your family is Christian as well, they should already know that, number one, and be okay with respecting that. And if they don't, people don't argue when you give them God. If you give them God, look, the Lord said, God said, and that'll kind of cause them to back off a little bit. And sometimes we have to go there with our family and friends and just remind them of what the Word of God actually it says and expects of us. We can't be out here teaching these things, these principles, and not living by them.
Leave your mother and father and cleave to your own wife.
So, Mr. Cobb, you mentioned the pagan order. So, for those of us who don't know what the pagan order is, how would it originally look before you get married?
Well,
and then how would it look once you get married?
Well, before I get married, if I don't have any children or anything like that, then of course my mother gonna come first. My parents gonna come first. Then my siblings. Then my cousins and my aunts and everybody else, and then my friends. And sometimes you have that one friend that sticker closer to you than a brother, and you treat them as such. But then once I get married, it becomes my wife. Once we have children, then it becomes children beneath my wife. And then my parents, her parents are on the same level. And then the aunts, uncles, siblings, and stuff like that. Siblings probably above aunts and uncles, and then aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff comes after that, and then friends. Now you always have somebody who might trump that, and they get a little closer to you, but nobody should be closer to you than your spouse.
So this question is for a second time around. Overcoming Nation wants to know: were you overprotective over your daughter? Did you allow him to discipline her first off, or did he have to come through you before he could say something to her?
Oh, that's a good one. That is that's a good one. Zamaya's dad is at the time he was active duty military when Anthony and I started dating, and even the first few years into our marriage. Her dad was very financially active in her life, and she had a good place in his life telephonically. But as far as we never were in the same household, he's never disciplined her. So she needed that part. She needed that structure in her life. And my father, he felt that role to an extent, but he was granddaddy. Granddaddy gonna let you just have your way. So she kind of got what she wanted. Not a bad child at all, but he did have that place to discipline her. But we had that conversation on how, I wanted her to be disciplined, and we knew that we were gonna have more children. So that was a conversation that needed to be had anyway.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think today a lot of times the person it's a good chance they're going to have children already. I had 2 daughters already, and with him, which, you know, they were pretty much, you know, one was an adult, one was a teenager, but I could not expect my husband to be a provider for my child and not also participate in disciplining my child. There has to be a balance, and it has to come from both has to come from a place of sincere love. Love, not just because you're the man in the house, you're gonna use that authority just because, but it needs to be warranted. So I think with that, you know, a lot of times we like to say, that's my child. No, I'm disciplining my child. You know, we cannot go there, because that's going to bring tension in the marriage, and that's going to bring a barrier, not just between the two of you, but between that parent and that child as well. So I think allowing them to discipline in a healthy way is a part of helping them to shape and mold the relationship that they will begin to have as well. It teaches the child to respect that other parent, and to also look at them as a parent and not just my mama boyfriend or my mama husband.
I want to add too, discipline and discipleship comes from the same word. And when you're disciplining, there has to be a level of where do you want this child to go. You're not just spanking a child, or you're not just disciplining or punishing a child just for the sake of they did something wrong. You're punishing them, you're spanking them for the sake of, I'm trying to teach you what's right. And I'm trying to discipline you in the ways of this house gonna act. So discipline, I'm discipling you into our house. So when you get out of line, I have to bring you back into the discipline, the discipleship of the home. And once I do that, then you can walk like you belong in this house.
This family.
Just the same thing with Christianity. God chastise those who he loves. If you cannot discipline somebody if you do not love them, if you don't love them, it's abuse.
Right.
Plain simple. You have to love somebody you discipline.
Absolutely.
That's good. It's very good. This next question is for our first 2 couples. Both partners describe their relationship as night and day, calm, storm, May and December. Do you ever have a situation where you feel like your partner has pushed something on you that you didn't really necessarily want to do? And if so, how did you deal with it?
No, not really a push. Well, I guess just like this morning. We had a conversation on what to wear. I wanted to wear something else. She wanted me to wear this. So guess what? I'm wearing what she wanted me to wear. But you know, it's a little thing. But I guess sometimes we do have a difference of opinion sometime on certain things, and I'd say, you know, we try to balance it out, you know, and work it out. It's going to be my way or her way or whatever the case might be, or who win or lose, you know. So we try not to look at it that way, you know. So whatever is going to, what's that old saying? A happy life is a happy house is a happy wife.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like
That's it.
But you know, I say, you know, you try to just, you know, just to make things smooth and work, you know, because you know you don't really need a whole lot of tension. You know, it's not good when you have a whole lot of tension in the house. You know, and no one benefits, you know, from that. So it's always good to have a happy accord on it's sometimes even the little minor things, you know. Because you know, if you love that person, you know, you're not gonna. At least I'm not gonna, you know, stay in that mode, you know, 2 or 3 days or whatever the case might be. It's not helpful.
And I'll piggyback on him. This morning my phone goes off. She has a special ringtone, so if I know if I need to get to the phone quicker than normal. So my phone goes off. You know, Tyler comes in. I got future wifey come across the screen right there and everything. So good morning, love. I'm wearing my leopard dress. you need to wear your tan shirt, your black shirt. So as you see, just like brother man down there, we got on what our wives tell us to put on. So I think we still look good and everything, but you compromise. And like I say, she's very strong spirited. There are things that she'll say or do, and I'll just give her that blank stare, like, okay, and I'll just go on about my business and everything. And I'm a football official also, so I have that shield right there. And a lot of times, like, okay, babe, all right, and I just go on, and I'll still do what she asks sometimes, and other times it just, she'll just be in a mood and she'll just go on, and I'm like him, you don't want to cause problems and make an issue out of something that's very small, because from my standpoint, from what I've been through, time is very precious. Time is very precious. When I lost my wife, we were standing there talking. The next 30 seconds, she was gone. When she fell over and hit her head on the bed, I thought she was just bumped her head getting our cell phones. But when I looked into her face, I knew I couldn't do anything. So I don't like to argue. I don't like to cause strife and different things like that, because who knows the second, the minute, the hour? Because you are not promised. You are not promised. The real of this right here is on the way home, it could be over. You never know. So you always need to be right with God. Be right with that person that you love, because you never know the next time you will be able to say I love you in person. So that's my spin on that.
That's good. I would say too, it's okay to disagree, to agree. And one thing that he has taught me, I open up my past with him so he know how to love me and to handle me. Because I was so used to saying what I had to say, pierce your heart, walk away, I was gone. And he was just like, no, you can't do this. We're wasting time. Let's talk about it. I would basically was running from, the real facing it. And so he really helped me with that. Like you said, time is very precious. You can't get it back. So, and we promise ourselves not to go to bed mad. We might have to walk away because it may be heated, but we're going to come back to it and address it before we go to sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I don't necessarily, I wouldn't say push. I wouldn't say I would push him towards anything, or he pushed me towards anything. I think we compromise when it comes to different things. Sometimes from a spiritual standpoint, sometimes, for example, your spouse or your significant other may hear something, like for me, like as far as church is concerned. He grew up going to a certain type of church. I did not. I grew up going to a certain type of church, and so I've changed all of that in my life in the last couple of years. And so when we got married, I was like, babe, I'll follow you where you want to go. But hearing from God, that just was not feasible for our life, especially for me and my son's life. And I was like, I want me and my son to be able to grow. We need to be in somewhere that we're going to be taught the word. And so he went with me with that. I don't think it was a push. I didn't push him towards it. It was just kind of like, babe, this is where God is leading us. And he trusted me. And I think that's the thing about it. I don't think we look at it as being, oh, he pushed, I'm pushing, or she's the dominant one, or he's the dominant one. Sometimes it's just, okay, God may be giving him something I ain't got just yet. So that's how I look at it. But no, there is none. And then when it comes to like something superficial, like he loves MSNBC, I'm not. I am pushing, and it's not working. So I'm like, I'm tired of it. I can't do this every day, but I'm pushing. It's not working. So no, there is not necessarily a push when it comes to certain things. And then for me, I can't speak for him, but things that we decide to do, there are no regrets for me. I would hope that's the same for you. But there are no regrets.
I want to add a couple things. Most couples, where they messed up at when they have a disagreement, they allow disrespect to come into the disagreement. And you cannot allow disrespect to come into a disagreement. You always, when you're answering that person, when you disagree with that person, when you having those intense fellowship moments, you have to remember that that's still my queen, that's still my king, that's still the person that God has for me. Even though I don't agree with them right now, I'm not going to disrespect them in our disagreement. That's number one. Number two, most people try so hard to prove that they are right instead of being good. And some arguments just not worth it.
Right.
It's just not worth it. My wife asked me to wear something. That's not worth me complaining about. If she want me to wear something, I put it on. It's simple as that, you know.
Vice versa.
It's not, no, that, you know, I got no wisdom. I have enough wisdom not to even go there, you know.
We ain't gonna do
But
that.
what I'm saying is that's minute to me. If she asks me, she's not gonna have me wearing something that's gonna make me look bad because I represent her. And to take it further, if my wife shares something with me, I have to listen and process it because we're a team. We have to compliment each other, we have to be there for each other, and we have to protect each other. So when she says something, I have to take heed to what she is saying because I know that she mean it for my good. It may not sound good and it may not feel good when she's saying it, but at the end of the day, she mean it for my good. And being married, you have to take constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is hard sometimes because sometimes you don't want to hear it, but it's necessary.
Absolutely.
It's necessary.
That's one of those chapters too. Stand the rain. Our next overcomer. I want to make sure I read this question correctly. I think you guys touched on it earlier. What were all the challenges that came with the age difference?
Yeah. They talked about that.
Yeah, they kind of talked about that.
You also talked about the communication difference as well. What was the sensational difference? Or how was the...
I got it.
We grown, so...
Cause he,
What was the sexual difference? How did you handle that?
Is that for us? Oh, that's for the.
Oh.
Okay.
well, he's 11 years older than me, and so I was more experienced because again he was married, so that's all he'd known was his late wife. So I'm more experienced. College, I've been to college and did my thing. I was a single mom, so he was like, whoa. It was something different. And of course we was two different type of women. So I brought different things to the table that he loved. And I think that's keeping him around, but
There you go. Get your brother.
That's good.
Well, I guess, for me, even though there's an age difference, I've always been adventurous. So,
All right.
hey,
Yeah.
whatever's whatever.
All right.
You make it work. That's all I can say.
That's right.
and you can't base it off of sex anyway, because if you build your relationship off of sex and then their health fails, then you don't have nothing. So you have to lay the foundation, the friendship, and lay it down the right way. So if something happens, my health or his health fails, we still have each other.
Right. Absolutely.
That's good.
Wow. Next question kind of threw me off. For every member of the panelists, this overcomer wants to know, were you not only attracted to the physical aspect of your spouse, but were you also attracted to the spiritual aspect of your spouse? Did, was your level spiritually different? Did we have to make this one come up or decrease this one? I mean, how did that attraction go past the physical?
Can I take a swing at that one? So my wife and I, we had kind of different backgrounds as it relates to spirituality. Very spiritual, but I was raised in the church. Even now, certain songs that come on the radio, you don't know nothing about that. You was in church. But I credit me being able to identify her as my wife even before we were ready to be married with my level of spirituality. Having known the voice of God and having known when the Holy Spirit tugs on my heart. I think a lot of people make the mistake of getting married for superficial things like physical attraction and never develop that spiritual connection. And like you said, when it's solely on physical, beauty's gonna fade. Strength's gonna fail. But if you know them in the spirit as well, then you have a bond that's unbreakable. The Bible says very clearly that a three-strand cord is not easily broken.
That was actually one of the things on my list. Someone who was very spiritual, had a relationship with God. And when I contacted him on Facebook, one of the reasons he did not contact me back immediately is because he was in consecration. He was in a period of fasting before God. So that was, check. So that was one of the things on my list, definitely.
That was one of the things that I prayed for too, for a man to be able to lead me and my daughter. I needed a man that was not only good for me, but also good for my daughter to lead us so we can walk together. He's actually a deacon. Again, he's calm. I'll pray for you, might say some choosy words to you, but he's he's helping me get to where I need to be on this journey.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, like physical, like I said, I never saw her before. So the first time we had lunch,
I saw my eyebrows.
First time I saw her, we had lunch together, and that was at Carolina Ale House down in the Vista. And when she walked in, the first thing I said, like, wow, she's tall. Like I said, I never saw her before, So it was just it's always, if you see her pictures, it's always just a headshot. You never saw her body. So I mean, it definitely wasn't physical. So conversation was good and everything like that. So we just progressed like that, and as time went on, and we got closer, got able to speak more freely and everything. I said, you know what? That first time we ate lunch together, I said, man, you sure can eat. But we was just joking around and everything like that. But at that time, you just so you just go on, you go with it. And like I said, that's how we were friends first, because I didn't know her and never saw her before. So when I saw her when she walked in, I was like, yeah, wow, she's beautiful. She really is beautiful and everything. But we talked so much between texting and calling, and our schedules were so different, and my job is close to her home. So at lunch, that was my new lunch schedule.
I was cooking lunch every day.
Yeah, I mean,
but I can eat though. We're over there eating too.
I see I left that part out now. But that's how we became closer, because we were able to spend it was lunch every day. And then if she needed, because she would go to work from like 3:30 to 12, and I worked 8 to 5. So even during her lunch break, if she needed something, I'm heading to the job to give her whatever she needed. I'm meeting her at Zaxby's, the Black and Salad, So I knew what to get and everything. So that's how we just evolved like that, just over good conversation and food.
Yes. I don't know. I think for me, it was a spiritual connection first. I actually literally heard the voice of the Lord say he was my husband. Wow. I tell people all the time, my husband is not someone that I would have chosen for myself. I made the mistake of choosing people based on looks in the past, and that is a grave mistake. So we made a spiritual connection. As far as having to help one grow up to the other's level, a lot of people did not know that I was as where God had me spiritually, because they judged a book by its cover. And I sort of joke around a lot and say, I grew up in the club, he grew up in the church, which is the truth. I came to know Christ as an adult, as my Lord and Savior. And so when I was praying for a husband, I mean, looks totally did not, I didn't pray for looks. And I don't know how that escaped me. but I didn't pray for looks. I prayed for the characteristics of how God had loved me. And I prayed for those characteristics in a man. And I also prayed for a man who knew the Word of God just as much as I did, or even more. Not knowing that the Word of God said, you know, your husband's supposed to wash you in the Word. I didn't even know that at the time. So when we came together, and even now to this day, I'm like, God, I know I prayed for someone to wash me in the Word, but I'm drowning. Like, I'm drowning. Like, he loves the Word of God, and he talks about it all the time. And so we teach, we talk, and we minister, and we teach one another, which is such a blessing, because he reaches a part of my soul and my spirit that no man ever has.
Wow.
And so with that connection, because it was spiritual connection first, I love my husband is the most handsome, most beautiful man in the world to me.
Tell the people.
So, you know, and I think he said that was one of the things about me, because like I said, we were Facebook friends. And so even back then in 2009, I would post encouraging messages or inspirational things, whatever the Lord had laid on my heart. And so, you know, that drew him to become like my Facebook
Stalker.
I didn't want to say it, y'all said it. But okay.
She keep that, but I want to say this. If y'all remember the story of the woman at the well, who this woman had 5 husbands, and the one that she was with was not her own. Jesus come and have a conversation with this woman that changed her whole entire life.
Right.
Through conversation, not touch. Jesus didn't touch her physically, but he touched a place in her that had never been touched before, to the point where she leaves the well and go tell all the people in the city, come see a man. Why? Because he touched me without touching me. And that's what we have to do. And I want to tell this story about this man. Had been married 50 years. His wife had Alzheimer's, and every day he would go to the nursing home at lunch. Every day he'll go to have lunch with his wife, and the nurse asked him, "Why you keep coming up here every day? Your wife don't even remember who you are. Why you keep coming up here every day?" And he said, "She don't remember who I am, but I remember who she is."
Wow.
And because of that, it caused me to come up here and be with her every day. You want to be with someone that you will always remember who they are, regardless of what happens in their life. If you focus on the physical will fail every single time. We got married, I weighed 50 pounds lighter than what I weigh now.
Yeah, I didn't gain any weight.
So I'm saying the physical attributes change. The physical attributes change, but character should remain the same.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we are running out of time, right? So we need to be wrapping up. So in closing,
It's the last question.
Okay.
Let's take this last one. and close it
I
out.
feel like it's like really big. How do you trust again after betrayal? And how do you build that communication after you've tried over and over?
That is big.
We're gonna take that one.
Let me preface this statement by saying that it is not easy, but it is possible.
That's right. That's right.
Oftentimes, when someone has betrayed you, we as humans have a tendency to start reflecting on us, like, what did I do to create that problem, to make them do that to me? You know, how I didn't deserve it, but what did I do? In order to free yourself to be able to trust again, you have to actually understand that some people don't deserve you, and you have to place that value on you. Realize who you are, who God created you to be, and that no matter where you go, who you encounter, you never allow anyone to diminish your value, your worth. So I have to protect myself, and I'll say that even as a pastor, because we're called to love everybody, but I can't necessarily embrace everybody on the same level, even though I have an assignment to you. To what extent is that assignment? So if I have to love you, how far do I have to love you? Do I have to love you enough to expose myself to being hurt again by you? And that's how I have to think about personal relationships. I can forgive you and heal past whatever the offense was, but I don't have to deal with you on that same level. The adage is, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. A snake only gonna bite me one time. So just be conscious and be mindful that you have value, you have worth. Whoever created the offense or did something wrong to you, they don't necessarily define who you are. And that at the end of the day, it's unfair to the next individual to withhold yourself because of the mistakes of someone else.
I want to add to that and say, and he alluded to it, forgiveness and restoration is two different things. I can forgive you without restoring you. You know, so when I restore you, I'm bringing you back up to that level. So once I restore you, I can't. And I say I forgive you, and now I say I'm restoring you back to the same place you used to be. Now I can't hold what you did against you if we're gonna move on from it. I can't be throwing it up in your face every time something happened, unless it's the same offense. If it's the same offense, I can bring that up. But if it's a different offense, I can't go back and say, hey, you even the United States government don't give you double jeopardy. That's double jeopardy. If I already you already served your time or whatever for that incident, I cannot bring that back up. Okay. I decided, y'all remember when Joseph was locked in jail? It was two people, the butler and the baker. One of them was restored, one of them was not. So you don't have to restore people, you do have to forgive people. Now, how do you get the trust again? It's going to come with time. You're going to have to allow that person to heal from the hurt, and the restoration, you kind of at that person's mercy. But once that restoration happens, don't bring it up again.
That's good.
All right. Well, that concludes our conversations with the Cobbs for this evening, loving and being loved. Thank you all so much for coming out. We would like to thank our panelists, Juwan and Anthony,
Thank you, panelists.
Ronald, Yolanda, Shalonda, and Clyde. Thank you all so much. And to our audience, you guys were awesome. We appreciate you. Until next time, I think that's a wrap. All right.
All right.
We'll see y'all in Texas.